Hi, friends. I'm Anna Lehman Knox, and I'm the community pastor for this new online campus of Camp Hill United Methodist Church called The Hill. And last week, we started this journey by hearing from the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 3, verses 14 through 21. And we started to reflect on whether or not we could learn in a life-giving way to understand ourselves as saints, if that is, in fact, one of God's names for us. So today, we'll hear from another letter, also possibly written by Paul, to a different community of Colossians, where people struggling to follow Jesus are also invited to share in the inheritance of the saints in the light. So as we struggle with our own worthiness and sacredness, what everyday saints in your life come to your mind and heart as you hear about that inheritance? Who are the people who have shown you the breadth and depth and height of divine love that we explored last week? And if you're at a point in your life where that love seems nowhere to be found, might you be able to receive it from me and from this message today and the scripture? So from Colossians chapter 1, verses 9 through 12. For this reason, since the day we heard it, we have not ceased praying for you and asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of God's will in all spiritual wisdom and understanding, so that you may lead lives worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing to Him, as you bear fruit in every good work and as you grow in the knowledge of God. May you be made strong with all the strength that comes from His glorious power. And may you be prepared to endure everything with patience, while joyfully giving thanks to the Father, who has enabled you to share in the inheritance of the saints in the light.
Lost in weary traveler, searching for the way to go. Stranger, heavy-hearted, longing for someone you know. May you find a light. May you find a light. May you find a light to guide you home. There are weary travelers searching everywhere you go. Strangers who are searching, longing deeply to be known. May you find a light. May you find a light. May you find a light to guide you home. May you find a light. May you find a light. May you find a light to guide you home.
Friends, you might recall, if you've been to a funeral in a church, that often the pastor presiding will pray that the person who has died be received into the arms of God's mercy, into the blessed rest of everlasting peace, and into the glorious company of the saints in light. I am always struck by the beauty of that vision. This world can feel like such a dark and treacherous place. The glorious company of the saints in light sounds impossibly great. And that phrase, as you have probably guessed, comes from that letter to the Colossians, where the people in the early church, and we still today, are invited to share in the inheritance of the saints in the light. I'm fascinated by the fact that it doesn't say anything like saints in perfection. It says saints in the light, as though there's truly more that needs to be illumined in our lives before we can fully be and share the best of who we are and who God has made us to be. And sometimes others go before us and come alongside of us to help us in that illumination process. Because frankly, illumination can be terrifying. We've all had experiences of thinking we looked great until we turned on the bright lights in front of the mirror and realized we'd spent the entire evening with spinach in our teeth. It takes courage to experience illumination. And it's certainly not something that I recommend doing alone. So notice that the scripture text says saints, plural. These letters we're reading in the scripture this month weren't written to individuals, and they weren't designed to be read by individuals. They were written to be read by whole communities of people. Saints. People who may be ordinary and broken, but also are made different and sacred by the love of Christ, lived out through relationships with one another. And there's a day in each year of the Christian life that reminds us of this power of illumination in both present day and past communities, called All Saints' Day. It's my favorite day of the year. And on All Saints' Day, we typically light candles to remember the saints who've gone before us, to remember also that we truly do share in their inheritance, that we share in the glow of their light, and a reminder that all of these saints were also sinners, imperfect people just struggling to be faithful. But as the prayer in Scripture reminds us today, we can endure any struggle from within or around us with patience if we embrace the strength and the light that God desires to gift us. And so today, I invite you to hold up to God's light a specific person in your life who has shown you something of the depth of God's love, or the light of God's grace, or the truth of God's sacrificial strength. And I invite you to light a candle for them and picture yourself as a saint alongside of them, sharing together in the inheritance of light that God has for us all. For the people who received the letter to the Colossians, joy and gratitude and patience with ourselves and others are wedded together with the gift of our sainthood. And so, as the light of our understanding of our lives as part of a greater communion of saints grows, what do we notice of those other gifts as well? What do we notice of joy? What do we notice of our capacity for gratitude? What do we notice of the length of our patience? And even though we may still feel pretty ordinary, are we noticing some things that are extraordinary? In the name of the Creator, the Redeemer, and the Sustainer, go in peace.